you will understand what's going on. It's actually a principle of democracy which of course you have to understand, because that is actually embedded as well in the local government units. Okay, so the principle of democracy, which is a shared power between the three branches of government. Okay, so not that if you are the chief executive, you all have the rights to do whatever you want. No, your power is only vested by the legislative branch. Okay, in a case of local government unit, it is the council. Okay, in the province we call it as the provincial board. Okay, in the barangay we call it as the barangay council. Okay, so that's a principle of democracy. It is not only one person who decides. So in the case, the danger of having that kind of government where only one person decides, like Russia, it's very totalitarian, where you don't have rights to question the chief executive. If you question, you will be in prison. Okay, that's actually a violation. That's very dangerous. Okay, in fact, I plan to write an article that amending the um, that the all laws right now in the world should be democratic, where people will decide. After all, when a chief executive decides, if that is a bad decision, then everybody suffers. Okay, that's what's going on. It's a war actually of one person. It's not a war of Russia. It's a war of one leader against another. Okay, so who suffers? The people. Okay, so that's a violation of the principle of democracy. So and that kind of system is very dangerous. So all the world right now, all countries must have their democratic government, where like I even suggest that the laws they have must be in um if there will be war that will be declared, it must be the people who will decide. After all, they are the one who will be affected. Okay, so if the people decides, then it would be more decisive rather than simply one person deciding over the fate of a country. Okay, so that's very dangerous. People do not want to fight, but the leaders wanted to fight because they wanted to show the power. Okay, so what are the violations? Of course, one is that being uncavalric in the Geneva Convention. When you declare war, you have to say we are at war, but they are using is a military exercise. They do not want to use the word war. Okay, but if you interpret it, that military exercise which that leader use is actually the meaning of that is already war. It may be uncavalric. Why? Because other country cannot prepare themselves that you already declared war, and that's what happened during World War II when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. They bombed first before saying we are at war. That's being uncavalric. Okay, and that's a violation of the Geneva Convention. Okay, when you say uncavalric, it's like man to man, gentleman's agreement. When you want to fight with similar weapon. You have to give him a chance to defend himself, and that's being chivalric. Okay, and you are not allowed to bomb civilians or kill civilians. Otherwise, that will fall under genocide or war against humanity, crimes against humanity, or war crimes. Okay, and that is cognizable under the International Criminal Court or the Rome Statute. Okay, so there is also another problem which I see. The UN Charter is not, it's not similar to our court, where if you committed a crime you will easily be punished. Okay, the UN Charter has no teeth. Why? Because it of its inequality. If you look at it, there are permanent members, unlike in the corporations where everybody can decide or just send representatives. The composition even of the Security Council, in which Russia, China, France, I think Britain and United States are members, it's already inequality. Why? Because they have permanent membership while others are not permanent. So and probably this one reason why cannot implement, because the one who committed the offense is member of the permanent member in the United Nations United Nations Security Council. So this Security Council is one of the organ of the United Nations, which actually it's like a police, okay? But look at it, the member of the police is the one who committed the offense. Who will punish? Okay, so in fact, in that case, when it was voted, the when they passed a resolution condemning the act of invasion, Russia vetoed it, and that's why it goes up. Okay, because if one of the members of the UN Security Council vetoes, then the resolution dies in that forum. So they go higher, they go up. So United Nations General Assembly, which is the higher body, which is composed of all the members of United Nations, and the qualification I tell you is that you must be a peace loving. Okay, and that country I think is not a peace loving anymore. Okay, because they declare war, and they should be dismembered. Okay, if they are really true to their mandate into the charter, then probably the Russia should be not a member anymore. Okay, so what happened during the voting? Okay, Philippines voted condemning it. Only three countries who are um, against or abstain. Against. One is China, India, and United Arab. Okay, the rest, I think 141, are in favor of condemning that act. Okay, but it's not, their voice is not so powerful, because the head just keeps on telling to withdraw its forces, but there's no really a sanction. Of course, I understand that they have to be very careful with this um, very sensitive issue. Okay, otherwise it will escalate into a world war, especially right now that countries are grouping themselves. Where do you want to incline? Okay, but right now I tell you, the president of the Philippines said during that briefing that we are neutral for the meantime. Okay, but we have that treaty actually a long time ago, in 1950s, where Philippines also offers, under the Mutual Defense Treaty, we can offer our territory, okay, or a base, or for their for use, let us say refueling of a fighter jet. Okay, so in that treaty we have to help each other. Aside from our treaty with United States, we are also members of the United Nations, where when someone upon, we have to give our peacekeeping force. Okay, and these are soldiers to be sent somewhere else or in a country where there's a conflict. So that's how you understand this one, no? This present situation. Okay, so take note, although it's war, okay, between that country, of course the origin, right? Okay, Putin, under the pretext of Ukraine will be joining the NATO, which is actually, according to them, it was created to fight against the Soviet at the time. Okay, and here's a Ukraine wanted to join NATO, but there's actually an agreement before, according to Putin, that all those former Soviet Union who become liberated under the fall of the USSR should not join NATO under that Minsk, okay, agreement. Okay, and according to them, to that country, it did not obey the Minsk agreement, where those previous Soviet states should not join NATO. Okay, because NATO and and Russia are of course, are, according to that, is an enemy. The reason why it was created is because of its mutual defense treaty, where those countries who are members of NATO will help each other. Now, So that is the violation, no, of that country. So probably there must be perhaps an amendment of the Charter of the United Nations so that it will become equal to all countries. Okay, right now I think there is inequality. Okay, and the reason why these great powers has the tendency of, or they have the guts to expand, they still have this expansionist idea, okay, that they're going to expand their territory. It's because of the inequality of the charter, of the UN charter. And I think the solution to end all possible expansion is really to amend that UN charter, okay, that the permanent members of the Security Council should be abolished. Okay, otherwise, if there is inequality, these great powers, I presume these five was the power to veto, okay, and who are permanent, will always have the tendency to colonize other country, okay, or invade another country. Okay, so that should be abolished. That should be abolished to me, because if the UN Charter remains to be the same, then there will always be a threat to the world that these three permanent members will again expand. Okay, look at what happened to Russia being a permanent member, and China, of course. Okay, other countries now preparing like Taiwan, okay, because of the threat that it will become, it will be invaded by China. Okay, so these are states already who attain their independence, and the leader was voted by the people. Okay, and we should respect, okay, the people that voted for that leader or president. Okay, so in my understanding, the reason why it was aside from being an inclination to NATO, because their leader, according to Putin, is just a comedian. Okay, but he's not just a comedian. I read his biodata. I think he also graduated from law, and law, like me, it's difficult to pass. Okay, it's difficult to study 4 years all over again. Okay, and you'll be studying, you cannot graduate without passing through a rigorous um and terror professors, that which will not allow you to sit down unless you give the correct answer. So being that, okay, he's not just a comedian. Can you imagine? He's an actor voted by the people. Unlike him, the other one who is a president for how many years, was the confidence and who has all the guts now because of his being appointed by Yeltsin. Okay, during the, I think, 70s, and he's now serving for, I think, 20 years, almost 20 years. That's the problem now of becoming a president. You become so familiar, and you become, over familiarity breeds contempt, and you do not respect anymore. You have that power and ego that you will think that you are better than the rest of those leaders. Okay, so I think that should also be looked into. The president, the leaders should not serve for more than 6 years or 4 years, because if it goes beyond that, there's a tendency of um, becoming so arrogant. Okay, so they are now losing, okay, because I think they are overconfident. The reason why you fall, because you are overconfident. Okay, so